Okay, let's start this. Eric, you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another session of The Playhouse. Feel the excitos in my voice because of who it is that I am interviewing. Watch this guy grow up. I watched this guy from when I was a kid. So it is super exciting to have you here. A veteran in the Kenyan music industry. Yani, introducing you, I'm not doing it justice, but I'm going to try my best. He has got over 6 albums to his name. Been in one of the first urban pop groups that this country has. Both gospel exploded into secular, and Yani has just been leaving a mark in the African music industry. As a solo musician, one of his songs is what we call the second national anthem. Wow. An activist for musicians, an activist for the nation, actually, even not just for musicians. He has mentored a whole lot of people and still is mentoring. Has been in the industry for over 25 years. If you're seeing this and you have no idea who I'm talking to, you're going to enjoy this interview. But a lot of people are excited because they're like, Yani, I can't believe this. The Playhouse has managed to get him. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for none other than Eric Wainaina.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I try and do my own sound effects. I'm a bit of a groupie right now, Eric, so kind of just understand. So thank you so much anyway for accepting to be here. You promised the date, you kept it.
Well, we've tried for a long time to connect, so I'm glad it finally happened.
Yeah, your story is so wide. Even in my intro, I didn't even talk about how you've shaped musical theater. But the good thing is that you are telling your own story. Okay. So how I love starting this is throwing it way back. And I ask musicians, performing artists, people involved in the industry, when do you feel like you first had the love for music?
Had the love? I've had the love for music since I was a kid. As in, like, we got a piano when I was 4 years old. We actually got it from, my dad got it from my brother. But he's a football player, you know.
How many are you in the family?
We're 2.
Just you and your brother?
Just me and my brother. My dad and mom got divorced and my dad remarried, and so I have 3 siblings. We grew up as the 2 of us, me and my bro. So there was music in the house from the time I was a kid, you know.
Can I ask what year this is?
Yeah, I mean, my first memories of sort of listening to music and really enjoying it was like 77, 78, you know. It was we're listening to the Jacksons, we're listening to Kamaru, we're listening to ABBA, Boney M, we're listening to Fadhili, we're listening to just everything, you know. And my family is very musical, and so we were just all the time there was music in the house, you know. But we had a record player. In fact, there's some records from my childhood here in this house, you know.
You jack them into the
yeah, you know, somehow. And so on Sundays we'll take out the record player and play some stuff, you know, even now, you know. But so my earliest memories of loving music are back in the day, you know. I couldn't sit down when music started to play. I would get up and start to dance, and you know, so it's been in the family. My dad, for instance, whenever he used to wake us up for school, you know, he would stand at the door and he'd play a rhythm on the door, you know,
nice.
with his fingers, and so it's been in the family, man.
So you've talked about, because right now you're seated in front of a piano.
I'm sitting in front of a piano. That's right.
So you talked about when did you start now learning to play piano?
Well, I started sort of tinkling around when I was a kid, you know. I never took my piano lessons seriously, you know. And in fact, I remember one day showing up for my piano class at conservatoire, and my teacher asking me, "Are you being forced to be here?" You know.
Yeah.
And so, I really do wish I'd taken my piano lessons a lot more seriously. So, by the way, if you're learning how to play an instrument, take it very seriously. You will never regret it. So but then I started doing sort of exams, the Royal Schools of Music, the thing that the conservatoire prepares you for.
Yeah.
And I did up to grade 5, and that grade 5 was even me sort of waking up and deciding to do it, and I was doing that when I was in my 20s, you know.
What?
Yeah.
Let's kind of stay to this childhood era. Where were you in primary school?
I was at St. Mary's for all my life.
What?
All my life, yeah.
Yo.
It has a primary and a secondary school.
You know,
why move? You know.
In primary, okay, now you've talked about the passion and love for music. What elements? I mean, you do so much, dude. You're a songwriter, you're a producer. There's so much in music that you did. At this time, you're a vocalist, instrumentalist. What exactly were you passionate about? Or where did you start?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, I started singing in choirs. You know, our school had a choir, and we did musicals every single year, you know. And so I was in every single musical that St. Mary's did, other than sort of the middle years, when you get into secondary school, and your buddies are laughing at you because you're in the choir. It's a very sissy thing to do, according to everyone. They're like, "Manze, what are you doing in the choir?" Right? And so, you know, and it was not cool to be in the choir when I was like 14, 15, you know. So I stopped, you know, and I started playing basketball.
Yo.
Yeah.
But that's deep. By the time you were entering the choir, this passion was morphing. It was growing. It was becoming.
It's true.
Like you, because it's not cool, but you're like, this is where I'm drawn to.
Yeah, but I gave in to peer pressure for those 3-4 years, you know, and just went into basketball, and I was pretty decent. I actually captained our school team.
Yo.
Yeah. But we lost.
Stuff you only find out here.
You know, I think we played Nyeri Baptist once. This is for Kanji. And I don't think Kanji and I ever played together, as in like we were not in secondary school at the same time.
Yeah.
But Nyeri Baptist Twanga das guys like crazy, you know, and then, but I even remember we played St. Teresa's when I was in Form 1. We lost 159-34. Mashika hapo. Yeah. Right? Those guys Twanga das so nicely. And there I was as a 14-year-old. I got the ball. I was subbed in. I was like, okay, I'm going on. I'm playing for the first team. I'm in Form 1. I'm dribbling. And the St. Teresa's guys are like, wacha tu akuja.
We'll show this guy.
So, and then they let me shoot. And I shot. And he was a baby. He didn't even touch the rim. You know what I'm saying?
Was that a cue to be like, okay, let me leave this?
No. I went on. I went on till I did my IB. But at that point, by the time of finishing high school, I was back in the music, and so I was doing both. Okay.
So now, when do you now decide, okay, fine, I'm coming back into the music?
There are many things that sort of happened in my high school life that sort of began to draw me back to music. At one point, I met this guy who I really respected, because he was a guy who he had a very strong sort of faith life, you know, a guy called Mwema Mwindi, still a good friend of mine now, and he was sort of a really principled guy, you know, and he was also a rugby player, you know, and so he was your man's man, you know, but very centered and not a peer pressure kind of guy, you know, and I really liked his bearing, you know, and then he started to sort of talk to me about matters of faith, you know, and then so it's a conflation of things. Then I got sick, I got chicken pox, and I was in bed pretty much for 3 weeks to a month. And I'd been introduced to all this music, right? And I was lying in bed, right? And I was listening to all these tunes, Akina, the Wainans, you know. And then I'd also borrowed a Ladysmith Black Mambazo cassette from a neighbor of mine, right? And also then my brother, who was in the US at the time, how we used to get music was whenever there's like a flight coming and there's someone, you know, he sends you like a tape with the latest jams, right? So I was locked up in a room for pretty much a month, just listening to all these tunes, you know, and also sort of at a time in my life where I was trying to figure out what my faith is, you know. So I was listening to all this gospel music, listening to Ladysmith Black Mambas, listening to all this funk and R&B, you know, and so all these factors sort of began to play a role in me sort of loving music and also having a very spiritual relationship with it, you know. So 15, 16, coming back into the music, went into...
So it's by coming back, you're talking about now you're back in the choirs.
I'm back in the choir.
Yes, you're back in the school plays and
exactly,
things like that.
You know. And then in IB, Saints is a boys' school.
Yep.
And then chicks show up.
In IB.
In IB.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're doing choir because that's where Chilis were. No.
No.
Saints is boys school all the way
Yes,
until
it's
IB.
a boys' school all the way, you know. And then suddenly you're being roped into all these things because I got pulled into this singing group, right, by these chicks who were now St. Mary's guys, but I'd known them from their Muso days, and we ended up singing this song at a prize day, and it was like I began to find my voice, you know, because it's also like a thing of your voice has just broken, you know, you don't know where you belong, you don't know where sort of register-wise where you're gonna go.
That's a difficult time, eh?
It is a difficult time.
In a musician's life, especially if you started early days.
Yeah. You don't know where your voice is, you know. You kind of feel you should be singing down here, you know. And then a song demands that you kind of go higher and you shock yourself. They're like, hey, I can do that, you know. But then, for me, the moment where it all sort of crystallized and there was no turning back. I was 17 years old. We were auditioning to perform at Prize Day with a bunch of friends of mine. And you audition at St. Mary's to the primary school, the junior school. These kids are ruthless.
They have no chill.
Ruthless, you know what I'm saying? So the year before, I'd seen some friends of mine go and sing this a cappella song, and they messed it up so badly, right? And the kids laughed them off stage, right? And so we go, and they're like, okay, next year, I'm gonna give this thing a try. We get on stage, and it's just a song where the harmonies build up. It starts with the lead, then the second verse, a second voice comes in, continuously like that. So the lead singer starts to sing, and he's a known joker, right? And so the audience is kind of giggling, they're like, it's Bishop, you know, we all know Bishop, you know. And then we come to the second voice. I happen to be singing the second voice, and then the audience hears how the harmonies are beginning to come together. And so Richie, at that moment, so the audience goes completely quiet, and I swear I can see like two notes dancing over the audience, like sailing over, and the song continues to build up, and I realize at that moment, this is where I'm gonna be for the rest of my life.
What?
You know? And it's both a blessing and a curse, because you're there like you're 17 years old, and nothing else is gonna move you like that, right? And so even at times in my life when I'm there like, did I make the right decision? You know?
You go back and remember
I go back,
day.
you know, but it's like I can't do anything else. I can't. You know, I'm locked here.
That's so crazy that you remember the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing as well.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment, and it's it was literally, it's like the heavens opening up, and and
Okay, so and you're like, singing is what I love doing, or this world of music is definitely the place. You're 17 years old. You're in IB.
I am.
In IB. So where does the story go on? Where does your journey go from there? Or actually, that's the beginning of now this.
That was sort of the beginning of
you sitting here right now.
Yeah, exactly. Of knowing that this was the place I wanted to be. So then I did a tenor solo for the Kenya Music Festival, representing St. Mary's, and this is a big moment. I've been singing in choirs all my life. Then I'm there like, I'm gonna go and do the Kenya Music Festival as a soloist, right?
Yeah.
And exactly, now that I think about it, that was actually a big decision on my part, because I was kind of shy guy,
But it also shows the intentionality with how, as soon as you made that decision, how you now started working with it.
I guess, And then I had a good music teacher, Mr. Obaga, back in the day, and he was like really encouraging me to go and do it. My girlfriend at the time in high school was like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, go for it, and obviously my parents are very supportive. And then I made it to the nationals and I won.
What?
Big deal. It's a big deal. And that's actually where I met Victor Sei. That's where I met Victor Sei. It's funny how in life suddenly all these things begin to come together, right? So Victor was representing Kabarak, right? And he was as a bass soloist, and also he was their choir director, right? And so he and I at the nationals solo category, he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. We point each other out, where they're like, dude, we've got to hang, right?
Yeah.
And then I go see him with his choir, and this guy's just epic, He's conducting. It's obviously him who's arranged it. Then he turns around and does like a solo. I'm there like, this is the man. This is the man. And so we'd also so because I'd been listening to so much Ladysmith Black Mambazo, I'd also started hearing some Take 6. I was like, man, let's get together and form like an all-men unaccompanied harmony situation.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm your guy. Let's do it.
So now it's just the two of you guys.
Yeah, but we did our first show with Peter Odera.
Okay. Hey, let's move this story.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's become so sweet.
Yeah. It's too many interconnections.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you and Victor Sei, you connect. For those of you who are wondering who Victor Sei is, he's ended up being one of the members of the group Five Alive. So the two of you, this is actually the birth of Five Alive from this school.
Kenya Music Festival.
Kenya Music Festival. Sorry. What happens from there now? You decide, okay, guys, let's join. But then you're two guys.
We're two guys. Now, so we exchange phone numbers. I lose his number, right? And
what year is this?
This is 1991.
Okay.
So I'm doing my IB, my exams, and he's doing his Form 4. And so we lose each other's numbers, and music festival was August holidays.
Yeah.
So we're heading into exams anyway, whatever. So then after our exams, it was sort of end of November, early December. I'm in a 46 Mark 3 heading to Tao, and I see Victor on a path, just actually jumping over a ditch, right? And they're like, that's that guy, right? Then, but the Mark 3 just speeds on. But something in my mind is like, okay, maybe he lives in this area, right? And so I used to live in Kimani as well.
Yeah.
So now it's funny how things work out. So music brought me to faith, right? Because it's funny. St. Mary's is a Catholic school, right? And one of the things that I really now when on Wednesday morning, when Catholics have mass, Protestants have service, Muslim kids have madrasa, etc., 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 etc. Right? That's how saints operate. It's like all inclusive, right? And so I was sitting in the church one day, and across the parking lot at the music center, I'm hearing the Protestant kids clapping, I'm there like, I want some of that. Right? That kind of music that makes people do that, that's what I want, right? And so I started going to the services, and actually the teachers were like, you can't just, sometimes Catholics can be quite strict about this kind of thing. So actually my mom had to write a note, and she was like, Eric can look for faith how he wants to, right?
Yeah, your parents, there's something that you're making me feel about your parents. They're very supportive.
Oh, so much.
You're here telling me about you've joined this music thing. They're even pushing you to sing, to do nationals.
Exactly.
Now again with the church element, they're like,
they're like, go find your thing.
yeah, that's.
So,
And this is in the 90s. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
You know, no one was busy saying go be a musician at that time.
Now, this thing about my finding faith, this is the 80s now.
What?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So now, 91, here I am. We've lost our phone numbers, me and Victor. I see him. And then I am walking through Kilimani one day, right? And then I see this sign on a gate, which is, it's a map of Africa, and there's a crucifix shining on Africa. So I'm there like, maybe I can get some Christian music here. It looks like a shop or an office or something. So, because 1 and 1 makes 3, right? So I knock on the door, and this woman opens the door, this young girl, and I ask her, hey, do you guys sell Christian music? Because I'm that guy. And she says, no, this is not an office. It's a house, but actually there's a commission down the road, which is where that sign belongs to, right? And then I look at her, and I'm not like, do you know a guy called Victor Say?
No way.
I said, do you know a guy called Victor Say? She said like, yeah, he's my brother.
You can't make that up.
You can't. You can't. You know. And I mean, the Say is Fanana.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
So she's there like, yeah, he's my brother. He's not here right now. They're like, well, here's my phone number, and in case I know where you live now, right? And they live literally around the corner from our place. We're in Agu in Scotland, right next to Kilimani Primary School. They are just near Kavina on Elgeyo Marakwet.
That is insane.
Right?
So, dude, let me get this straight. You randomly went and knocked at his house.
Randomly went to Victor Say's digs, right? And then, so the next day we hooked up, you know, and we said, okay, let's carry on this conversation. And so he's like, hey, do you know Peter Dera? I think I'd gone to see a Peter Dera concert at Bapo. And Pete was that guy who was always, when I said to him that I wanted to sing, right? He took me so seriously. You know, I mean, just some random kid who walks up to you after your show, you know, where you're also on a bit of a high, you know. It took me very
so
seriously.
I've interviewed Peter Dera.
Yeah.
And the guy, he made it sound like you just, like, it's so good hearing you say this, because that's how he made it sound. He was like, after a show, this kid walks up to me, he's like, yo, I want to sing. And do you know who that kid is? Eric Wainaina. In fact, insert clip here.
So in the 1990 to 1992 period, I'm doing a concert one day, skinny kid comes running up to me after a concert. You know, you sign a few tapes and things, and then he comes up, says, man, I really like that. This is what he said. I'm trying to quote verbatim. The sound, man, the sound. He'd never heard sound come from speakers like that before. And he says, man, I want to sing. My name is Eric, and I want to sing.
Eric Wainaina.
Eric Wainaina.
That's exactly how it was. Exactly how it was outside Bapo in the old sanctuary, you know. And he took me aside and he prayed for me, and he was like, dude, I hope everything goes well for you, you know. And then me and Victor went and sought him out, because Victor was a Bapo member, right? And we were like, okay, there was a Kakesha coming up end of December. Let's do a song. We did a song called Thy Word.
Just you and Victor?
No, with Peter Dera.
You, Victor, and Peter Dera?
Exactly.
Whoa.
Our first performance publicly, unaccompanied harmony, was me, Vic, and Peter Dera at Bapo at Akesha. December 31st, 91 going into 92. So
you can't make this stuff
you know, and then obviously Pete has his own career, so they're like, okay, thanks, you know, but he continued to mentor us, but he was like, he can't be a member of our group.
And this is the era when you have finished school, IB.
Yeah.
So it's like that, you're done with
free
high
as
school.
birds.
Yes.
Free as birds. You know, from that point on, there's nothing to do for a number of months, you know. So Victor's there like, hey, maybe let's call some friends of ours, you know. And so he called Bob Kyoko, who he was in school with, and then he called a guy called David Mageria, Moniki's bro.
Yes, Moniki Mogeria's brother.
Yeah, because they had known each other from a thing called Christian Family Fellowship, CFF, back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then I brought a guy called Chris Wangondu, right, who I'd been in school with and who was an excellent songwriter, right? And so the five of us started.